Hey everybody, it's Kary Oberbrunner, and we are going to be having a behind the curtain right now. There's about 20 people in the Zoom room, and I'm going to let them all in. So we're going to have a blast today, and we're all going to learn together. So let's get started here. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Awesome. Great to have you with us. You are live on Facebook. So if you don't want to be on Facebook, you got to hop off or mute yourself or something. As you join, if you can all mute your audio, that would be fantastic. And Daphne is going to be the hostess tonight. So I'll let Daphne kind of set us up, explain everything, the rules, all kinds of, there are no rules actually. So go for it, Daphne.
All right. Well, welcome one and all, those who are live and those who will be joining us in the future. I'm not talking NFTs and VR. I'm talking about they've watched the recording. Okay. Although tonight we are talking about the future and about several things that are on the horizon. Some of you have been with us, and by us, I'm referring to ISPA, the United Souls Publishing Agency, for a while, and some of you barely. No matter how long you've been around us, you know several things. Kary's a bald guy with a girl's name. We use a lot of acronyms. We are on the cutting edge always. And if you have been around for a little bit longer than a minute, you know that his heart is grounded in servant leadership, and that my mouth often gets me in trouble. So I think with that, the stage has been set, and I'm watching the smiles on some of y'all's faces. Those are my friends. See, I thought, okay, there's no reason to not be transparent. And that's what we are about tonight. Last Friday, Kary and I had a call. He was excited about some questions that actually his coach had asked him. And he was sharing those questions with me. And I just, as I've done, Kary's known me for 6 years, 8 years.
8 years.
I've been working for you for 6. He knows that I've watched his transformation, just the growth in this business. And I said, that's the Kary right there, that heart. We have not been hearing that person with all this newness. And all this newness can be scary, especially when it seems that the anchor has maybe shifted a bit. So Kary doesn't know what I've got in front of me, but I have something, but he trusts me, and y'all do too. Thank you. Lucretia. Okay, sorry. Anyway, okay. There was a squirrel. Her name's Lucretia. I found something on TikTok, and I thought, you know, this really pertains to us. So I want to read this and kind of set the stage, and then I'm going to go to Kary. Several of you wrote in to me privately and said, well, the consistent theme was thank you. Thank you for setting this up, because we have questions. And some people gave me questions that they wanted to have asked anonymously. One of the people is here with us live, Travis, my friend. So at some point we'll turn it over to him. But this is what I would like to use to kind of set the stage. Growth will always require us to leave something behind. Habits, beliefs, career, mindsets, people. This is why making space for grief and letting go within the growth process is important. You will mourn some aspects of your former reality in order to make room for your new self and opportunities. So that being said, let me make it very clear. We're not saying goodbye to anybody tonight. That's not the point of this. This is, with change comes change. And that's what I told Kary on Friday. I said, look, man, you've always been on the cutting edge. AAE, cutting edge. Elixir project, cutting edge. Unhackable, cutting edge. This is no different than that, except that it's not as tangible. And so, Kary, you mind if I just go ahead and throw a question out to you?
Yeah. First, let me say thanks for everybody being here. Whether people are here live, I see we got 26 on Facebook. I don't know, 28 here, and then who knows who will watch the replay. So it means a lot to me that you're here, and I'm excited to chat. And I told Daphne, I said there's no rules. I said, and any questions permissible, but the only rule is Daphne can interrupt me if I start going off too technical.
Yes, I said to Kary, I said, look, we need a kindergarten explanation of this technology. And by kindergarten, I'm not talking about an intelligence level. I'm talking about attention span.
There you go.
Y'all have to understand, Kary has been studying this stuff for over a year.
Hundreds and hundreds of hours.
He's deep into it.
And I truly only know that much. Seriously. That's how big it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just kind of want to set that with you all. And with that, we're going to take a quick little trip across the pond, because the first person that reached out to me gave me an example about the UK and what the UK has to say about Financial Conduct Authority in regards to crypto. And over in the UK, okay, over there, not here, over there, they're talking about Web 3.0 being along those lines. And even the Bank of England is calling for more regulation. So that's how she's framed her question. And the question is, how do I make sense of blockchain and NFT?
Yeah, no, that's great. So let me start with some good terms, because I think that unless we understand how we got here, we're kind of like just caught in the middle. Okay. So I'll say some statements, and whoever likes to take notes can jot notes. I know we have Ricky on Facebook, and we have Michelle. Oh, cool. Michelle's here commenting. So if there's a Web 3, which there's a Web 2 and a Web 1. So let's start at the beginning with a Web 1. Okay. And Lynn says, is this a crypto blockchain meeting? I think it's going to be everything. I think it's going to be like, hey, Kary, what's been happening the last year? Is this correct, Daphne?
Yes. And what my intention for this is, when we finish this call, that people understand what the heck an NFT is, what blockchain is, what Web 3.0 is, and how the heck does that have anything to do with Iceville?
Okay, cool.
That's my bottom line.
Gotcha.
So,
Lynn, is that good? And you can ask anything you want as we get to question 2.
If that's what the meeting is, I didn't read it that way. So that was just me as a market sample of one, but you all just go ahead.
Okay. Well, truly everything's fair game tonight. I mean, that is really my heart. Anything.
well, and I know, Kary, you wanted to maybe talk about conference and the Author Elite Awards. And I said, maybe. I said, if we get to that, what I don't want to do is go down somewhere and we don't get everybody taken care of. I think this is the top priority, is the NFT stuff, and what is it and why is it relevant, and all those things.
And I don't have a time limit, so I'm here to, as long as people want to stay on, and I'll teach and learn and all that good stuff. So basically, Web 1 was they create, they own. And what do I mean by that? I mean that when websites first came about, people are thinking, this is crazy. What's even going to happen? It's stupid. Why would people, do things online? And the early websites were read only. So you would go to a static page and you would read something like, for example, a Domino's menu. Okay. So you'd go to a website and look and say, oh, there's the pizza. Web 1 was they create, they own. Then along came Web 2, where a lot of us became authors, coaches, speakers in this time period. It was around 2005. But web big tech businesses, they began to say, look, we can't keep up with creating all the content. So we're going to let them create. Who's them? Us. So we began to create blogs, vlogs, articles, pictures, books, podcasts, you name it. Here's the trick. We create, they own. So think about that. Now, we're the ones who are creating, and YouTube can say, we're taking down all your things. Facebook can say, you no longer exist. Twitter can say, those are no longer your followers. We then moved into a cancel culture where essentially, and this is why I'm passionate about it. We are creators, we are authors, we are coaches, we are speakers, we are entrepreneurs, and yet where are we putting our things? Well, we do put it on a shelf, but most of us put it online. And we put our conversations, we put our pictures, we put our book launches online. Well, we found out in the last few years that who is the real owner? They are. Whether you watch The Social Dilemma, whether you, I don't care where, we're not going to turn this into political tonight, but whether you line up with Biden or Trump, we saw that certain people had voices, certain people didn't, certain views had voices, certain people didn't, even the current Russia and Ukraine situation. So Web 3 then is now coming about. And Web 3 is that we create and we own. So what's happening is that we are decentralizing a lot of the internet. And blockchain technology is what makes that possible. So that is a clear, concise answer between Web 1, they create, they own. Web 2, we create, they own. And Web 3, we create, we own. Now along comes NFTs, which stand for non-fungible tokens.
Hold on.
Okay.
So is everybody with us so far? I just need to get a temperature check. Heads bobbing, thumbs up. Okay.
Yeah, you can post in the comments.
I think part of people's confusion is we've thrown out there Web 3.0, blockchain, and NFT all at once, and they're different, but they're connected.
Yeah.
So I think as long as we have that base understanding of what Web 3.0 is, now we can say, okay, well, what the heck does an NFT have to do with that?
Sure. Web 3 is going to encompass a lot of things. Web 3 is going to encompass goggles, VR goggles. And by the way, I just got to give a shout out. This is my one little guest that I had planned. I asked her today and I asked you today, but we have a 49-year-old, and she told me this. She said, you can tell people everything, but we have a 49-year-old who has not enjoyed exercise, I'm guessing, because I think that was her testimony. And she has now found her thing, her groove, her passion in a portion of Web 3, which is virtual reality. Okay. And virtual reality, we might say, well, gee, that's just video games or that's just exercise. No, actually, it's going to be where a lot of you are going to be teaching. So this is why we're getting into this, because a lot of you are going to be teaching your modules, your coaches, your classes, your speeches in VR in the future, if you want. But let's talk to Belinda just for a second here. Belinda,
Yep. Hi.
Hey, so we have planned this for all of 7 hours. But Mark Thomas texted me today about photography with firing, and he said, Belinda shared about VR in the connected meeting the other day. And he said you were so passionate, you were actually in tears. And he said that he and Shelly went out and got a VR headset, and now they're into it. And again, the goal of today is not to say get into VR, but the goal is to say technology's coming at us, and it always has been coming at us. You used to not be able to put a lightning rod on your barn because it was too technological, and you were telling the community that you didn't have faith that God would keep your barn from getting struck by lightning. Seriously, folks. So we've always been in a technology tension. And I'm going to share tonight that I actually have some major concerns with some of this technology. But first, there's some good opportunities too. So Belinda, just give us 60 seconds real quick on what the heck is happening with you in VR and fitness.
Well, like you said, I've never ever liked exercising. I find it boring and mundane. I don't like it. I've never liked it even back in junior high school. I would complain about PE. So my son bought the Oculus in December, and he wanted me to try it out, and I just kind of shrugged it off because, like you said earlier, I thought it was like gaming, and no offense to anybody here who actually likes gaming, but I think it, for me personally, just in my own opinion, I find it a big waste of time. And so I didn't want to try it. And then Chris got on it and he's like, babe, you have to look through this. It's amazing. So a couple of days went by again, and I finally put it on, and I was just like, wow, this is like you're in this world that it's 360. You look up, you look sideways, back, down, you're immersed in this world that you choose to be in. And I started looking for exercise apps, and Noah, my son, suggested some, and I started doing my own research, found one that I absolutely loved. And I now work out in different places in the world, like Switzerland and Iceland and Tahiti and the Maldives. So, and it's fun. I actually found something that is super fun to do. And I know I'm getting a good workout. And through that, I found virtual races and stuff that I could do. So now I'm actually earning medals, marathon type medals for the exercise that I'm doing. So and I just couldn't be happier. My mood's changed, I'm starting to see changes in physically, mentally. It's just been a life changer.
Wow. Fantastic. Thank you. I know at Firing in April, we're going to, talk more about this, try some out and all that stuff, but thank you very much. Okay. All right. Daphne, I do want to share one thing because I want people to realize that the metaverse is not just goggles. Okay. Life Church, Craig Rochelle is the pastor. They actually have, as of December, a church in the metaverse. You don't need to wear goggles. And you might say, well, Kary, what the heck is this? Technically, folks, if you're on Zoom tonight, you're in the metaverse. If you're watching on live stream, Facebook, you're in the metaverse. The metaverse is simply the blending of digital and physical worlds. And so it's a spectrum. Yes, when you strap this on, you're really in the metaverse, okay? But the reality is that, Daphne, if I were talking with you and my phone started beeping, and I'm like, oh, hold on, my son's FaceTiming me, I'm actually in two worlds at once.
Okay.
And there's a term called digiphrenia, which means that you're two places at once. So I just bring me back, Daphne, but I just want to
Well,
share that
and I would like, yeah, I would like people, let them go visit life.church/metaverse. You can be in the metaverse and be on your computer.
Yes.
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
And you can be on your phone.
Metaverse.
You can be on your phone. And here's what's interesting. Some people will be like, oh, you're talking about Second Life that was in 2003, almost 20 years ago. Well, what's interesting is that we're in a whole new world. Here's my explanation. Second Life was a contained world, okay, where you would have economy, you'd have real estate, you'd have avatars. What's new is that there's going to be this interoperability where you are literally going to go on the internet, but in the metaverse, and you're going to go to the Honda dealership, and then you're going to go to Walmart, and then you're going to go to Amazon, and then you're going to go to Europe, and then you're going to go to Iceland. And here's what's different. Your avatar will go with you. And not only that, your currency will go with you. This is why, to me, this is so important, is because it's not just one thing anymore. If you look at where our world is today, it's 5G, which allows the bandwidth to handle this. Then it's a cryptocurrency, which right now Ukraine is funding their war because of cryptocurrency. They put out their wallet, and millions and millions and millions of dollars have been donated to fight a war. This is very interesting. In addition to that, this war that we're currently in is happening with hackers. Like, there are literally people setting up shop to do war through hacking. So I want people to realize this isn't like, oh, I'm not going to get involved. If you have a smartphone, you are involved.
Well, and aren't people involved to a degree right
What
now?
are you doing?
Hey, Barbara, we're going to put you on mute for just a second.
Okay.
Because we use the term, we're connecting virtually tonight.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I get to spend time with Michelle and Lucretia at the same time virtually, whereas we couldn't do this without somebody getting on a plane.
Yes.
And going somewhere. So this is a level of it, but it's like the basic level, the one that we're used to. So
yeah, and there are some major concerns, and we can get into that. But in fact, it's the major concerns that have prompted me to try to be a lead cutting edge person in this technology, because in my opinion, I can either wait a few years and then be like, oh, okay, it's already here. Or I can say, you know what, I'm going to try to get out on the front cutting edge and actually influence it. Because, not to scare anybody, but there are, just last week, there was a 13-year-old who met a 25-year-old in Oculus and was kidnapped. There was a Nazi reenactment that hacked into a system where kids were reenacting gas chambers. Okay. Sexual things. I mean, if you think there's sin today, or you think there's evil today, we haven't seen anything. And I don't mean to gross anybody out, but like, someday it's going to be a major issue, humans and robots sex. Okay. And if people are like, what the heck? I'm just saying, we can say, forget it, this is weird. Or you can say, you know what, it's actually already happening. And so now I'm trying to actually influence it. Because in my opinion, our technology has outpaced our morality, and it's outpaced our ethics. And it's the wild, wild west. And so we can either say, well, I'm not going there. And my point is, you know what, you're going to go there because you have a smartphone and you probably have a computer. Like, it's coming at you, and you can either just wait, or you can say, you know what, I'm going to wade in and redeem this technology.
Yeah. And that you bring You bring me to really our next question, Kary. Because straight up, this is kind of like a two-part question.
Sure.
Is this against God's plan, and how does this line up with God's word?
Oh yeah.
Because it is scary, and
Oh yeah.
people need to understand.
You know what? I was praying through all this, and I've been praying a lot, but I got to Romans 8. Okay, Romans 8. And again, this isn't a Christian show tonight, but it's not a not Christian show tonight, right? I think God shows up everywhere. So
This whole thing's being covered in prayer, I'm telling you, right?
It's all truth. It's all truth. So Romans 8, very interesting. Okay, Romans 8, Paul's talking about nothing shall separate us from the love of God. And I started to read, and I'm like, angels, demons, height, depth. And it says things future. And I was like, dang, well, the metaverse is future. Okay. So there's technology that, you know what? You can deny it, but like Craig Rochelle's church is actually saving people, not his church, but God saving people through metaverse services. Okay. There's a lot of philanthropic things that are happening in the metaverse through cryptocurrency. Why? Because you used to send missionaries money and corrupt governments would take huge amounts in certain countries. Well, now it can go right into people's digital wallets. So do I think that this stuff is crazy? Absolutely. I mean, there could be people that could strap on a VR headset and have a whole nother spouse and life and put on, you know, crazy attachments and have affairs. I mean, there's some crazy stuff going on. Okay. But you look at the setup where the pandemic really isolated us. I mean, you look at like the perfect storm, you know, there's plenty of people that said, I'm never doing Zoom. And all of a sudden they're like, okay, overnight, our whole business is doing Zoom. You know, Strategic Coach is an example of this, where many people had to do Zoom because of the pandemic. So we are now in a place where we used to tell our kids, stop looking at the screen. And now I tell my kids, it's virtual school today. Go upstairs. Your teacher's waiting on you. So the world has changed. And now we need to say, how can we interact within it? And yes, from a publishing standpoint, I'm very excited about this. Why? I mean, we can get into that practical thing for authors and speed of publication and all kinds of stuff as well. But you're the facilitator, my friend. So you keep going.
Thank you. I'll be grabbing the reins. A little nod to my friend Lynn. But what came to my mind just now is the way we are looking. And by we, I'll say me. Okay, I'll have not 3 fingers. I'll have all the fingers pointing back at me.
Yeah.
When you were talking just a minute ago, I thought, okay, put myself back in the old days, like really old days, before I was even born, old days. Yeah. Like when people went from horse and buggy to cars.
Yeah.
Maybe this is our horse and buggy to cars kind of thing.
I think it is. And here's why. There were certain countries that outlawed cars. First of all, you looked like an idiot if you were driving a car. Let's just be real. Because you were driving on dirt roads and you were essentially getting stuck. Then you needed to fill up your gas. Where do you even get a gas station? Then you needed your car fixed. And so with the adoption of technology, there's always been this clunkiness, this, who are you? You're an idiot, or the technology looks really dumb. But it's very interesting you said this, because there's a great book called The Internet of Money, which I recommend that people read. It's by a Greek gentleman. It's a series of 3, but he does talks around it. It's very good. But he even uses this analogy of cars. Do you know that in the beginning? Yeah, you didn't even know that.
No, that's the thing, y'all.
Yeah.
I'm clueless on this stuff. So it's a
Yeah.
divine download if it's coming out of my mouth.
That's right. In the beginning with the car, there was a rule that someone had to run in front of the car and wave a flag and tell people that a car was coming. Okay. Then you had to have another person in there in case it broke down, and then you had to have the driver. In other words, it was super not practical. Certain countries banned it, and they actually fell way behind. We in America, we tend to be innovative and push the line and this type of thing. But here's what's interesting, Daphne. The dirt roads that were made for horses and not cars soon became roads that horses used and cars used. Then, because roads existed, they invented motorcycles and skateboards and scooters and all kinds of other inventions. And now, of course, horses aren't on the roads. It's the same thing that happened with phone lines. In the beginning, we used to use phone lines for the internet. Think about this. Remember this? Dial-up, right?
Yep.
And then all the people that own phone lines said, you are dumb. You're not going to get clear sound. Well, guess what? Guess who's using all the internet now? Phone companies. So we are in this shift where, yes, in the beginning, Web3 looks dumb. It's clunky. It looks like, what am I going to be in a video game all day? No, but 5, 10, 20, 30 years, we didn't think that we would be ordering pizza on our phone, and we would hop in a car with a stranger called Uber, and we would sleep in someone's bed called Airbnb. Crazy things have happened.
Yeah. So maybe right now, because I'm gonna get hung up on the phone thing for a little bit, because I got grounded from it so many times. And who remembers making emergency breakthroughs because your friend's line was tied up? Come on, you did it. It wasn't an emergency. You just needed to interrupt. So I think, like the bag phone. That's what I'm thinking of, is when these little suckers first came out, they were in a bag.
Okay.
Right. And we now are, this is attached to me, and it fits in my pocket, and it goes everywhere I go. And Travis said it weighed 5 to 7 pounds. This sucker maybe weighs ounces, right? And so it seems to me that Web 3.0, and then I think we're going to move a little bit more into NFT and blockchain. But I'm going to preface that that the Web 3.0 is like, we maybe are still stuck on our landline, and the Web 3.0 is equal to the cell phone. Right?
I think the fact that no, that does help. The fact that people are even on tonight, they're in the top 1%. In other words, you really have to have eyes to see what happened with the commercials with the last Super Bowl. You have to have eyes to see that the last, I don't even know tennis that well, but the last tennis competition with NFTs, you're starting to see LeBron James, Steph Curry. You're starting to see the entertainers, the celebrities, all realize, even the businesses, grabbing up, just type in metaverse and click news. And there are crazy amounts of companies. Slim Jim last week got into the metaverse. Blockbuster, yes, I thought they were gone too, is into the metaverse. Like, and people say, it's just a fad. Well, here's what's interesting though about it being a fad. Everyone's registering trademarks. Everyone's hiring. Disney has hired a chief metaverse officer. Look up Bob Iger and just hit news and see that he joined a different board of a company yesterday. When Microsoft, I believe it was I might need to check this, but I believe it was $67 billion to buy a video game company called Activision back in January. 67 billion. Why? This is why it's not a fad, because these are not just random moves. So we are in a shift. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. And I want to go to a question in the chat, and then I'm going to circle back to some of these celebrities and big names that you've been talking about. Lynn raised the point, not everybody has 5G technology.
Yeah.
So is 5G technology, and this may not even be an appropriate question for you to answer, is 5G technology going to replace eventually, you know, like not everybody had a cell phone, and now how many people do even have a landline? Lynn, do you want to address that a little more clearly?
This is something we've been looking to get another house. And the first thing I check out when I look at an address is what internet is available. And I will just tell you, I live in a pretty good sized town. It's becoming a small city, but 1% of it has fiber. And I'm going to have to run dual internet services. One whole service, one AT&T service only for my office, so I can actually be on a Zoom call and not have an unstable internet. And then I'm going to have another company do a second service so that my husband can watch TV and be on his iPad. And I have so many people that I've spoken to in the last few months. They would love to be able to do things on Zoom, but they don't have enough bandwidth because they live in the country or they live places they can't get internet that will handle their Zoom. They can't even get enough bandwidth. And some of these are very close to interstates in big cities. They can't even get it because of where they are, that their email is delayed by 15 minutes. It just takes that long to finally make it through.
Yeah. So I think the question is, one of the questions might be, does all of this need 5G? It doesn't. If Lynn goes to, on her phone, Decentraland, you know, just give that a shot. Decentraland. That is technically the largest metaverse right now. And it doesn't need 5G. So I think that her point is good, meaning that, yeah, not every place in the world has internet. What's interesting though, is a lot of the books that I've read, for instance, one is called The Truth Machine. It's about blockchain technology. But a lot of the books are citing that people have phones that are Nokia and others that don't have any much internet, but they still can do banking. So a lot of people all over the world who are unbanked, about 5 billion now because of crypto, can be a bank. And that was shocking to me. Once I did study on that, I'm like, everyone can get a bank account. What the heck? Now there's so many places around the world that you can't. So I would encourage you, just do a Google search on the unbanked, and you'll find in these crazy small villages that they'll have these very ancient phones, but they're able to do crypto through that. And that's actually their bank. So I think you're right. Everyone's onboarding at different points, but with satellite technology as well and internet, I wouldn't be surprised if someday in the near future, it sounds weird, but I think the whole world will be internet integrated. I mean, we can go into Powell, Ohio, and literally the whole city is. And I know there's a lot of cities that are starting to do that, where the entire city has a free Wi-Fi. And yeah, of course, there's places out in the country that don't.
Okay. That helps. And I think one thing that, and then I'm going to go to my question about celebrities. Because of where we have advanced in technology, I feel like we are in the lab with, and just work with me here for a minute, folks, Orville and Wilbur Wright, with Thomas Edison, with whomever. When those things were being invented, that was a closed room. If you weren't in that room, you didn't know anything about it. But now, with the way technology is, we're in the room.
Mm.
We can choose to be part of the discussion. We can choose to be part of the innovation, whereas before that wasn't an option. So these are just some of the random weird images coming into my head. And those of you who are on here know my head is weird. So speaking of weird, let's talk about celebrities. So we've heard you mention a lot of names: Justin Bieber, J-Lo, Dwayne, The Rock. What the heck does that have to do with us and any of this stuff?
Yeah.
Are you partnered with them? I mean, what's
so here's so everything's being recorded, which is fine. but so in my I'd say around December, November, I started to see a lot of patterns. Okay. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be way more than some people want to hear, but I'm just going to share it. So I saw that basically a lot of people are behind, and that's fine. Like, you know, I like the future, and we know that every domain name is a key. Think about it. We call this, what's your web address, right? I mean, where, you know, give me your, that's what we used to call it. Give me your web address. Well, those are all addresses, and whoever owns the domain owns the key. You tracking so far?
I'm tracking.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I started to realize is like, oh my gosh, the metaverse is coming. Everyone's jumping in. I'm going to secure all the domain names.
Okay. So basically you've become GoDaddy for all of these.
So here's what's interesting. Here's what's interesting. Nothing's for sale. Okay. So I talked to my lawyer. If I was selling these things, that would be cyber squatting and illegal. But I said, I'm going to jump on all these things. And I'm going to secure them all. And for what purpose? Well, then what I did is I did something even another level, which is tie them to NFTs. Okay. So Nikki says, why?
Yeah.
Great question. Right now, there's crazy things that are happening on the metaverse, and there's evil happening, and people can go purchase those domain names and make evil happen. You know, we all, if you didn't read the article, there was a 43-year-old woman in England who jumped into the metaverse and within 4 minutes was being gang raped. And so then Facebook created this safety bubble around her. And
so, okay, let me interrupt here. Virtually, this was happening to her. This wasn't happening physically to her.
No, this is virtual, but you now we need to start saying God made your brain to have sensory reactions. And there's a lot of stuff that says VR, you can't even tell the difference. So now you're going to have
so she was like viscerally experiencing that because it was through VR.
Yeah. And now, I mean, you can have PTSD. Absolutely. So my point is, we got a chance, folks, to influence this digital world that's coming. Or we can sit back and fight and complain and chit chat and debate, or we can say, you know what? we can protect. And so my point is that I don't know everything about this project that I've jumped into. But what I do know is that there are trillions of dollars and billions of followers that look to certain influencers. And I don't know what, so far I haven't partnered with anybody. Okay, so everyone can just chill. But, all right.
I'm just reading the questions, man. Just
No, I get it.
The questions that came in.
I get it.
So some of the stuff we're seeing here, okay,
Sure.
and I can appreciate this, is then take off the goggles. Like, why engage in it?
Yeah.
Like Belinda, who I love. I don't know if she's still here. She maybe flipped over to the other page. It's working for Belinda. I'd rather go out in the real world and get my mileage in.
But here's what's interesting. Here's what's interesting. 6 months ago, pornographers were hacking Zoom and they were infiltrating Zoom rooms. And Zoom, which we're all on right now, unless we're hypocrites, or Facebook live stream. And guess what? Safety measures had to be put in place. So then they put IDs and then they put protection. My point is this: put your phone away then. Your phone is the biggest pornography store on planet Earth. Folks, we have to learn how to use technology, you know, and I get it. People are like, we had this chat not too long ago and someone's like, well, I'm not going to do it. And someone confronted them and they're like, what are you holding in your hand? A smartphone. A smartphone is a portal to the metaverse.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think here's the deal, Kary.
Yeah. It's just
being a visionary.
Yeah.
Being a visionary. You are 50 steps in. We're half a step in. And while we can appreciate and see you as an authority, and I'm not trying to I'm just going to turn it into I statements because Travis is here and he's a counselor and Nicola and all the things. Okay. I look to you for leadership. And up until now, I've been 1 to 10 steps behind you.
Yeah.
Now I'm about 63 steps behind you.
That's okay.
And it's scary.
Yeah.
And I don't want any of this that I've done to come across as confrontational. And I don't think you've taken it that way because I don't think you've been defensive in anything. It's just, this is like learning Mandarin.
It is.
I can handle Spanish and Latin and French. Why? Because they all have the same root, Germanic, romantic base. But now you're trying to teach me Mandarin and I don't understand the symbols. So
here's what I'll suggest. I'm going to ask Ricky to drop in 3 URLs for YouTube. And here's what's going to be interesting. You're going to watch them and be like, yeah. Like, in other words, you're going to be like, this is exactly why I don't want to jump into this stuff, because I'm giving you a very balanced view. I'm giving you a video called The Blockchain Revolution, which I'd love. We still got to get into blockchain because blockchain will affect your medical records, your vehicle registration, your marriage certificate. Like, this is where I want people to realize we just chatted about the metaverse, but there's a lot of use case scenarios that are happening. Tracking food and contaminated food. So Daphne, this gets to the point of like, well, I don't want to do the metaverse. Great. That's a piece of Web3. Web3 also means that your bananas are starting to get tracked with blockchain technology. Why? Because Chipotle, years ago, when they had contaminated food, it took them 8 months to figure out that it was a beef farm in Australia that had a pathogen, and it cost millions of dollars and lost jobs because they had to track it. But now with blockchain technology, every single vendor at every single point in the journey has to put full transparency about where their food is coming from. And this is called a digital ledger that's public. It's basically a public ledger that everyone can see, and therefore marriage certificates are going to be on it. Housing, mortgages. Why? So you can't have a lien on your house. So this is where, because of the housing market, a lot of these things started to happen with this need for transparency.
Okay. One of the things I saw Travis post in there, and this is the DSV of what Travis put, although Travis, you are welcome to unmute and speak for yourself. There's always going to be darkness.
Sure.
There's been darkness since Genesis.
Sure.
One. And it's, where are we putting our faith? Where are we putting our trust? How are we equipping ourselves? How are we arming ourselves? And so to a degree, I see, and I've said this for years, use your power for good. Knowledge is power. So the more we know about it, the more we can choose or not choose, the more we can engage or not engage. And what I see you doing is getting the information and making decisions, in part to save us time and hassle, and also in part to help establish a foundation of getting the good and getting the light into this unknown world, if you will.
There's so much good happening. I meet with Dean, you know Dean.
Yeah.
Dean and I have chats often. Linda Outka's one of my accountability partners. We just chatted last Friday. We chat about this stuff as well. But there's teens that are now being greeters in a church in Michigan that has a service in the metaverse. What's interesting is a lot of churches that have online services, that's a form of having a church in the metaverse. Okay. And that's what I want people to realize. Like, you're already in the technology.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not to the level that you think yet. You might not have cryptocurrency. Okay. When's the last time you really used cash the whole way through? Like, people are actually using digital currency, but I'm not even saying like, oh, I paid for cash. I'm talking about, if you look at your bank statement and credit cards and plastic, and we've been off the gold standard since 1972, I think it was, and quote me, look that up. But I want people to realize, like, we have been in this concept for quite some time. And now we might have a hang up with a certain component of it. And I think we should be thinking people. I think we should absolutely be thinking people and say, how far is too far and how much is too much? But I would love to get into NFTs and talk about publishing and some of the exciting things too.
Yeah, because I did open this up with, what the heck does that have to do with any of us? Because I'm looking at this, and just almost everybody on here, with the exception of only a couple, are authors already. Those
Sure.
other people will be becoming authors. I'm speaking it into fruition. So yeah, I'm looking at you. Why does this matter?
Yeah.
Why do NFTs matter to authors?
So when most people hear of NFTs, we all read headlines. Okay. I think if somebody spends a legit 10 hours studying this, I think it's worth it. And I think, look, if we watch a Netflix movie or whatever series, I think you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your future generations, you owe it to your author career to spend about 10 hours at least researching some of this stuff. Because what's happening is the way that we perceive value and assets. Okay. If you look around you, everyone right now has things. Like I'm looking behind you, you have a red shoe, you have a time thing, you have your son's movie poster. We since the very beginning of time have gathered things. What's interesting now, though, is because we've lived online for a couple decades now, think about this. We've never owned digital things. So you'd go in and you would play a game and earn all these points. A lot of kids, not us, but my son, other people, they would earn all kinds of things. They would earn badges. They would earn skins, they're called. It's like a uniform, Fortnite, right? And here's what's interesting. They would pay cash for these things. I know it sounds crazy, but if you have a teenager or a nephew.
Oh no, I have 4 nephews.
Yeah.
2 are 14, 2 are 16. They know what NFTs are.
Okay.
They schooled me on it.
Okay. So for years, you would buy these digital things. And remember, Web 2, they own. So you wouldn't be able to keep these things. You'd spend all this money in this game and you wouldn't own it. Well, now with non-fungible tokens, NFTs, that digital asset is now tied to the blockchain, which is a open ledger that forever and ever and ever says Lynn or Belinda or Annette owns that. And they purchase that. And yes, that means even books. It means everything you see, in my opinion, will have a corresponding NFT someday. And you might be like, that is the dumbest, weirdest thing I've ever heard. And it is. It is a mind-blowing thing. But think about it. If I have a sweater and I leave it at a party, whose is it? Nobody knows. Nobody knows that that's my sweater. I can't claim it. Someone might say, no, that's mine. Now with the blockchain, you can actually go to what's called the hash, and you can see that, yes, it was purchased by you by such and such a date, and it's in your wallet. And digital wallets are the new thing that are going to verify everything. Right now, I have on my browser what's called a MetaMask, and MetaMask is my digital wallet that contains whatever I want it to. It can contain, I went to this concert, here's my marriage certificate, here's my vehicle. I mean, this is where we're going. So that when you sell a vehicle, you will actually transfer the NFT, which is the digital representation of that vehicle. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So I'm going to give you an example. Tell me if it works.
Okay.
So I bought this paperweight.
Yep.
At office, whatever.
Yep.
The paperweight cracks, not because I dropped it, because it was faulty.
Yep.
I take it back to office, whatever, and I don't have my receipt.
Yep.
I don't even know what credit card I put it on.
Yep.
Are they going to be able to prove that I bought that in some way? Because
I believe that in the future, and you might say, how could you do that? As simple as a QR code. You could literally put on the back of your book a QR code where people scan it and it takes you right to the blockchain and says, yep, Kary wrote this book. So now you talk about piracy. Here's what's interesting. You know, you hear all this fake news. This is a very important use case. We don't know when Joe Biden speaks if it's Joe Biden. We don't know when Putin speaks if it's Putin. I mean, literally these days, you can get so much into AI, artificial intelligence, and digital twins, you know, and some of these things that are nutso, that you don't even know if someone's saying something. Well, guess what? When they issue an NFT with the speech, you'll be able to say, absolutely, that was Putin who just said that. We live in a world right now where trust is very hard to see. In other words, people say, oh, look at those guys on Instagram behind those really cool cars. How do we know it's really theirs? They're flexing, you know. is this theirs? Did they rent them? Well, now you can go to someone's digital wallet, and if they want to share, you can see exactly what they purchased, when they purchased it, everything's verified. And you might say, Kary, why is that even important? Because on LinkedIn, a lot of people say, I went to this school and I got this certificate and I got this diploma, and none of us know that it's real. And when they issue an NFT, and this is already happening now. In fact, do you want to see one?
Yes, and that I'm going to have you go from where you are to somebody asked, how can we be sure an NFT hasn't been hacked?
Mm-hmm. Because you need to understand about blockchain technology. Blockchain technology makes a hack nearly impossible, and here's why. Because you would have to take control of 51% of the computers in the world, because it's decentralized. Right now, someone can take over Walmart's computer or IBM's computer or Apple's computer because it's a centralized computer. But in Web3, we now have decentralized computers, which means that every computer is verifying the blockchain. So you would literally have to hack 51% of the computers in the world. So here's an example of someone named Lee who actually is in the business of creating these. But you go to her experience and you don't know. I mean, did she go here? I don't know. It's a little JPEG. I don't know. But here's what's interesting. Now you click show credential, and LinkedIn is integrating blockchain technology so that when you eventually go to someone's LinkedIn very soon in the future, right now it can actually happen. I can go here and say, oh, that looks legit, but is it? I can click verify, and this is showing me that it's connected to the blockchain, and it gives me the actual hash right here. Folks, this is where we're going. This is where we're going. This is why blockchain is called the truth machine, because you literally are proving something that is true. Here's what's interesting. Nothing against Donald Trump's wife. You might like her, you might hate her. She did an NFT project a few months ago, and then it came out that she bought her own NFT. Now, we don't know her motive. Her motive could have been that, oh, I decided I really didn't want to sell it. But if her motive was, I want to game it and pretend that it's selling and I don't want anyone to know, well, then she was caught. So this now brings a transparency that we've never had. And again, it would be very difficult for me to explain blockchain in a few seconds or a few minutes, but I want people to realize, I'll summarize this and then I'll move on. Augmented reality. And you might say, oh, this will be fun. Watch this here. Some of you are using augmented reality right now. Okay, I'm going to use one right now. You ready for this? Can you see me? Can you see me? So
nice,
you like that? So this is augmented reality. Okay. Some of you have augmented reality because your background is a blur. Okay. I want to take this dumb thing off. But my point is this: augmented reality is part of Web3. Virtual reality is part of Web3. 5G is part of Web3. The metaverse is part of 5G. Blockchain is part of 5G, NFTs. But what's interesting, Daphne, is these are all converging.
Okay.
Which makes it like.
And I think that is part of it, is that each in and of itself
would be interesting.
Like, whoa.
Yeah.
But now we're having this convergence, if that's a word and the right word to use. And so that makes it 3 times as challenging, if not more,
to
understand.
Yes.
And I know that for me, I caught myself for me, and I am behind the curtain. I'm in leadership. It's been like whoosh.
Yeah.
This what? Where?
Yeah.
So for those who don't meet with you every Thursday,
Right.
from 10 to 12,
Right.
my time, it's really got to be whiplashing.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
the? And so Michelle posted
Mhm.
that listening to some of your podcasts, he feels much more informed. So this is not a promo. I'm saying this is what works for Michelle.
You know why I do the podcast? Because I don't know the technology. And so I get people on.
You got to learn it.
I get people on so I can ask questions.
And
Okay.
just to add to what Daphne just said, the first 2-3 podcasts, I was a little bit going, all right, I think he's going to lose me here, and it's the variety of persons you invited that show us the multitude of possibilities. And I'm actually starting to plan something NFT related because of the podcasts. So
For your book?
yeah, exactly. So I definitely recommend it to anyone who's sitting there with a dark cloud around going, what the heck is all this? Just listen to it. Don't try to understand it. Just listen to it. And it's going to work in the back of your mind.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. I'm going to call on Travis because I know he reached out to us, and he's one of the people who I appreciate that. And I just need to hear a little Texas accent so I can read his question, but you know.
All right.
Yeah, buddy. Okay.
So I'm gonna bring a little Dan Sullivan into this. Kary, you are a multiplier. And it's why I love you as a friend and a publisher, because you bring something to my story that I don't have. I'm a simplifier and an integrator. I guess that was explaining why my question. So the question is nuts and bolts, and I'm starting to understand all of this. I need to put more time in it, but I've been launching that little book baby, and I'm kind of in the back of the roller coaster with Daphne, but I love tech. I know where we're headed, and I want it to be a vehicle for us to be light shiners and truth tellers in this crazy world. But I'm gonna borrow your key phrase that I use with clients all the time. I'm an author, I'm a coach, I'm a speaker. Most of us are. We're building a business. We all, and this is what ISPA is. We are all souls who want to ignite the world. So bundled all up together, blockchain, NFT, Web3, and where we're heading with our business, the book and the coaching. What is our best next step?
So good. Okay, good. Let's get super practical. Number one, I would say protect all your content. So if you think that, well, all my courses are on YouTube and therefore they're secure, I would tell you that overnight YouTube can decide they don't want you, your content's gone. So not to freak anyone out, but I would say massively own your stuff. Okay. Number two, I would say, hold on, I'm making this up on the spot, so you got to give me a second, Travis. Okay. Number two, I would say be a learner for this. Don't get hacked, because I'll tell you what, I could care less about crypto. Crypto doesn't excite me. I mean, I know crypto is like, out of this whole Web3, some people are like, oh my gosh, I love crypto. Okay. I don't care about crypto. I have a little bit, but I mean, I don't care. What excites me is publishing and protecting IP. Okay. So I won't even talk about my publisher point of it yet. Okay. But I'll get into the book and author coach. I would say, do not put your communities on Facebook groups. Now, some people might be like, well, Kary what was his issue with Facebook groups? Listen, I kept Facebook groups 2 years longer than Dan Miller. Okay. Dan Miller was telling me 2 years before, hey man, I'm moving all my group to Mighty Networks. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I would never want to move my groups out of Facebook. I put my life in there. I mean, you talk about live streams, videos, interviews. There's so much in Facebook groups. I don't think Facebook is the enemy, but here's what I do know. If you look at October 4th, 2021, they actually made a Wikipedia entry on it. It was so important to the world. Facebook went down. And Facebook went down, and WhatsApp went down, and that was the last straw for me. I'm like, you know what? We're done. When Facebook, not to even mention that some of you, and I can prove this, but some of you have done Facebook Lives where your Bible's open and all of a sudden it's blurred out in real time. Certain of you have posted things and it's been taken down. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm using Facebook right now. Maybe they're going to shut me down right now, but who knows? But the point is that I think some of this stuff is even happening because of AI, and it's just machines, and they're just like trained, to block things. So I'm not even saying there's this crazy evil motive. I don't know. But what I am saying is that if you're a thought leader, you better control your content and your community. And yes, you might lose some people along the way because of it. And yes, I'm sad that we might have lost some people. And yeah, I know it's annoying to open up Circle and it's frustrating, but I'll tell you what, when Facebook can go inside your group and start promoting things, which they can, it's their platform, and they can put any type of ads alongside. And and soon they'll even be able to put competitors inside your group, things that you don't value or stand for. This is where I had to eventually say, you know what's the principle of it? And I said, when everything shut down, I said, I care about the tribe enough that, the main way we contact people is through Facebook. And when all of our sites went down and all of our things went down because of that support, I said, we got to have a backup.
Why do you look so gay?
Okay.
I think, Kary, you
Yep.
just hit on something that is a nice wrap up. I'm not trying to force this conversation to be closed or not.
Shut up, 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 shut up.
Hey, Michelle, can you mute some of our friends here? Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Jaden, if you want to ask a question, I'd be happy to help you. But if you just,
why is Belinda so fucking ugly?
I'll tell you what, Kaden.
Yeah, she ugly as fuck. Oh, no,
You know what?
Kary, shut your bald head ass up, boy. You look like a fucking sex offender. Go fuck yourself, kill yourself, you fucking bitch.
See, and
Grow some hair, you faggot.
And that's why.
You look like a sex. I wouldn't be talking pedophile looking ass, boy. Shut your bitch ass.
Okay, I'll continue over on Facebook Live.
Yeah, go
Travis,
fuck yourself,
you look
you
really
Facebook
cool.
ass
Travis,
bitch
you
ass
look
boy.
really
Hey folks, it's Kary Oberbrunner. Great to be with you. Just want to give a, if by the way, if you're watching, go ahead, type in your name. So I know that you're here. I want to make sure you're in the right spot. But, that's an example about why we're doing what we're doing. Okay. If you missed it, basically we just had a great chat about Web3, the metaverse, all kinds of things. And then somebody hacked us, and they hacked Zoom, which is not our platform. I wanted to be generous and put out a public link so people could jump in and ask questions. And so many of you are amazing and generous, and you were there. But others of you, I apologize that you had to hear some people who were, rude. But my heart goes out to them because they're not in a place where there's a soul on fire, and they need God's love. They need our love. And Daphne is joining me via phone. Hang on one second here, folks. Daphne. That's okay. I'm just going to put you on speaker and you can
Okay.
you can ask me questions. So I was just explaining, Daphne, that you know, our heart goes out to those people that are in a tough spot. You know, not everyone's at a good place in life, and our heart goes out to them. But you were going to say something. What were you going to say?
Yeah. So right before that happened, what came to my mind is a recovery principle. And that recovery principle is principles over personalities. And so we kind of started tonight talking about separating the dark and the light. Yep. We just all experienced some darkness.
Sure.
And I don't know about anybody else. That was traumatic for me, and nothing was aimed at me personally. And you know, we even kind of jokingly said, "Hey, just take off the goggles." I mean, I said it myself. It goes deeper. It goes broader than that. And so we have to look at what principles we are banking on, that we are grounded in, and in what direction we want to follow.
Sure.
And just now, the way you started this, when you brought me back onto the call, I sure as heck wouldn't have been as gracious as you were just now. I'm not proud of that. I'm not going to lie. I had some other thoughts other than what you had in regards to those people who act in. So, you know, I think the bottom line with all of this, Kary, and I know that there are some other things that we want to talk about tonight,
Sure.
is that this is going to take education.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to take time.
Yeah.
This is the beginning. And I think of a baby giraffe. I think of a colt being born. Their legs are wobbly, and it's not real pretty.
Yeah.
But the next thing you know, that colt is now a thoroughbred in the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
But it takes time. It takes training. It takes knowledge and information. And so I kind of see that that's where we are with all of this right now.
Oh,
I can't. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you're cool with it, I'd love to share my heart with the people.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
So there's been plenty. So just to give people the heads up, I mean, the last 12 months have been the toughest 12 months of my life. Okay. And what I mean by that is that, you know, I'm not someone who quits, but I know that, and we're still, Facebook's still showing, right? I don't know. Can you watch and make sure it's still working?
Yeah.
Okay, because it looks like I froze on Facebook. But before I go into okay, I think I'm good. If you guys can hear me and see me, go ahead, type in yes. Awesome. I think it's working. So, you know, yeah, there we go. Okay. So, oh yeah, I thought this last year, hey, I'll just go write books. I'll just, you know, stop having a public persona. Who cares about Web3? Let people deal with it. And it's interesting, Linda Outca's son-in-law, I'll mention him. He was, I never met him in my life, but Linda was telling him about this whole Web3 and this whole concept. And he listened to a few podcasts, and then he said, God gave him a prophecy. And I don't have people pray over me or prophesy much, you know, but he left a voicemail that said he was in Isaiah, and it talked about rebuilding the ruins and how God was going to have a bridge to the generations. And so, you know, I've had a lot of people praying for me over the last few years, and I get it. Some of my closest people, they may think I'm nuts. They might have quit. They might have left. You know, we got people on, you know, whatever. But my point is, Daphne, that here's what I realized. We're in a new era and the same methods don't work anymore. And I'm speaking to all the authors, coaches, speakers out there, entrepreneurs. I know this for a fact. Okay. I know for a fact that webinars, the classic webinars, have seen their day.
Yeah.
I know that the classic, you name it. I'm not going to name a bunch of things. I don't want to discourage anybody. But what I do know is that a lot of the things that got us here are not what is going to get us to the next level.
Right.
And you're seeing a decentralization of the internet, even like, where do you find people anymore? You know, Facebook, everyone used to be there. Now people are on this and that and this and Discord. And so what I realized, Daphne, is this: God's paying our bills. I have more top level people coming to us. You know, the people that we're launching, Rachel Peterson this next year. You know, I'm not going to disclose anyone else because they haven't announced it, and I don't want to be the one to announce it. I hold clients in confidentiality, but Rachel announced it. We have a lot of clients paying the big bills, but I could easily be like, you know what? I'm moving on. Try, have a good life, because it would be easier. But what I'm saying is that I have a heart still to bring people to the next iteration of where we're going digitally. And I know some people will misunderstand me. I know some people will not like me. I know some people will stop following me. Notice I'm not selling anything today, because, you know, that's not my heart. My heart is to say, look, are we still supposed to do Igniting Souls Conference? Hey, I'd love to continue to talk about these things, but not everyone may be ready. And they may wake up in 2-3 years, and either I may be the one who's completely out to lunch, or they might be like, oh, I get what Kary was trying to do. He was trying to prepare us for what's coming. So that's kind of my heart.
Well, and you know, Kary, I asked you a very pointed question earlier today. And it came to me as a thought. And the next thing I know, you're calling me, so people can take that for whatever it is. And I said, Kary, if I asked you straight up about Author Academy Elite and just walking away from it, what would you say? Honest answer. And because you and I have worked together for 8 years, and you have given me permission to be a truth teller, and that means asking the hard questions, I was like, just throw it out there, Daphne. Don't wonder, ask them. And you shared with me what happened. Was it yesterday?
Oh yeah,
that when Sarah
yeah.
came?
Sarah,
tell them what you told me.
Yeah, Sarah McDermott sent me a book. I get books all the time from our authors. You know, a couple weeks ago it was Travis. You know, I have books literally all next to me, but I put them on my shelf. I have testimonies that, you know, they write me the cards, but they say often in this book, dear Kary, if it wasn't for you and Author Academy Elite and Igniting Souls, my book would not be written. And so for me, I love Author Academy Elite. I know that the old, hey, let's invest a ton of money into a webinar and let's carve out 25 spots and 5,000 people are on, you know, and we have to interview them and we have to choose, you know, that has seen its day. That doesn't mean, Daphne, you're the one who gets the referrals. There's a lot of people referring. Like, we haven't run ads now in years, and yet a lot of people are coming. That's great. But, you know, the margin that we make on an Author Academy Elite after we pay for editing and coaches and cover design and interior design, I've had people be like, how do you even make money? You know, and the point is, like, we don't make a lot of money off that. where we do make a lot of money is these high-end, everything launch to campaign. And I could just do those. And I'm not asking for pity today. Trust me. I'm not, but I'm saying I do care about the tribe. And I know the tribe has seen a lot of changes. Our platform, Facebook, has seen a lot of changes. I mean, when Facebook goes and says we lost $10 billion last year, they realize things are changing. So, this isn't me just like inventing things, but I truly believe our world is in a shift, and we have the opportunity to redeem the time. My first business was called Redeem the Day. But Daphne, I would tell people, what do they need from me? Do they need more live streams? Do they need more teaching on this? I'm here to serve. And I don't know. What do you think, Daphne?
Well, what's coming to my mind right now is the old adage: lead, follow, or get out of the way. A visionary is a leader.
Sure.
And people can choose to follow, but the benefit, the blessing is that you're not going to let anybody slow you down, and there's not even anybody going to be in your way, because you follow the one that matters.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a trend, it's not a technology, it's the truth. There's your alliteration, my friend, right there. Boom. Trend, technology, or truth. Okay. Yeah. See, this little student does pay attention to the things you teach her.
There you go. Well, and I like what Travis says, though. Travis is asking a very good question. In fact, a lot of people are, but they're saying, as an author, coach, speaker, entrepreneur, we call them ACEs. What do I do right now? And I'm actually not asking people to do a lot. I'm not saying go run here, go run there. I'm saying do your homework, keep your ears open, pray, and don't just dismiss everything. Because are there NFTs that are being sold for $4 million and it's a picture of an ape? Yes. Is that giving NFTs a bad name? I don't know. You tell me. But if people are just like, oh, NFTs, they're overpriced JPEGs. They don't understand that, what? If their book becomes an NFT, they'll get royalties for the rest of their life every time that NFT is sold. Second, third, fourth, fifth. Right now, if I sell any of these books, the author never gets it. So again, I want people to realize, like, there's a whole angle here. Yes, faith, but yes, business. And we're all learning this together.
Yeah. So next step, would you suggest, I know you had on the original Zoom some links of some YouTube videos to watch.
Sure.
Where can people find your podcast?
It's a good question.
Is it in Circle Community? Where can we find your podcast?
The podcast is called Blockchain Life. And hey, I'm not saying that's the best thing.
No. I'm asking us, people want to know some next steps. Okay. Yeah. This is not self-promotion.
Yeah.
This is tools.
Yeah. So I'm learning with Blockchain Life. There's some great books out there. Even though the title sounds weird, The Internet of Money talks a lot about Web3. A book, if you want to know, a biblical book on cryptocurrency, it is amazing. Like, I thought it was going to be a joke. I bought it like kind of thinking this was a joke. The guys literally, and woman, it's a bunch of people, they got together. It's Bible verse, cryptocurrency teaching, Bible verse, and they literally teach the biblical perspective of money. And it's called what is it called? Does God love Bitcoin, or God loves Bitcoin, or something like that? Gabe Higgins is one of the authors. That's a great one. The Truth Machine will just blow your mind about what blockchain technology is. those are some great things. And then the YouTube videos.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know about everybody else. My brain is pretty saturated in this regard to these things. We've been talking about them for an hour and a half. So let me ask you, when it comes to next steps in regards to other areas of our company,
Oh, yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
I did have somebody reach out to me. This is the last portion of questions that I have. I'm not pointing fingers, and I'm owning those that I need to. We've dropped some balls over the last couple months.
Sure.
Communication, links. Lynn, thank you for posting that Bitcoin book.
Oh yeah, we got everybody's helping us.
I know that you did a metaverse live about a month or so ago. I think there were some deliverables that might not have been delivered yet. So how can people follow through when we, me, you, the company have made a promise? Hey, you can have this, whatever this is, be it worksheets from a workshop, whatever. If we don't follow through, how can they hold us accountable? Because we're the people who can do something about it. Fellow tribe members cannot. We can't.
Send a kind email and thank Tanisha, because she's amazing. We just have a great team. But send a kind email to support@igniting-souls.com, and we'll get what you need. And just truth telling here. The last few events I've had where I have said, hey, let's watch this video and talk about it. There have been maybe 2 people. And again, I'm not, it's not like I'm sitting around being like, I wish I had something to do. You know what I charge per hour, and you know what people pay per hour. And if people don't want to talk about what's coming, that's fine. Like, I'm not pushing it for people. I'm just trying to say I'm a resource, and I'm trying to equip you to say, hey, if something's not working, we got to rethink it. Daphne, I have a class in Oculus app, Meta, coming in August. On publishing. So, I'm experimenting, I'm trying things out. But yeah, I'm not pushing this for anybody. And, if people say, hey, my time is done with Kary, that's okay. Like my time has been done with certain people. People are there for a season and a reason, it said. So I'm not hanging on to anything. I'm not pushing this, but I am saying this: to be a good steward, I need to invest in what is yielding a return. And I mean,
I think, we just poked the bear. Tanisha just chimed in. I love you, Tanisha. I love you very much. What's coming to mind is this: loving with an open hand.
Sure.
Just as God loves us, and you love us, and I can say it without it being weird. I love you with an open hand, allowing each of us to grow as we have been pre-designed and into the destiny for which we have been created.
Awesome.
So I think there's just been a lot of something we don't allow in my recovery world: side conversations. It can get confusing. It's like the telephone game. We go back to technology, right? We used to have a can and a big string. Things get confused. And from what I know, you've always had an open door policy. That, or I just am too rude and I don't knock and I just walk in. But I think, and I hope that people have been served well tonight.
Sure.
Based on where you are in the country. It's getting pretty darn late.
Sure.
I know I don't wake up this cute every morning, so I need my beauty sleep all I can get, y'all. Kary, do you have a final word?
Yeah. I want
to thank you to everybody.
I want to pray for those people that jumped in and,
Yeah, you're way
Oh yeah.
Please do. Please do. And for those who may have been hurt by it as well.
Oh yeah. Listen, I think some names were called, and I've always said that, the way people react and respond is an indication of where they're at. It has nothing to do with you. You just got in the way. And so, I'm going to pray for all of our people. I'm going to pray for, we've had some fantastic employees that have moved on too, and I just want to acknowledge them. They've been amazing. So I just feel like we're all on the same team, and let me pray. Okay.
Awesome.
God, we thank you for this amazing tribe, and I'm so glad. I'm looking at the names here of all the people, and I'm just totally honored that they took time to show up. It shows that they care. Easily we could have just, we could gossip. Gossip is a way to vent that takes zero courage. And I mean, I've been there before, I've been in that situation before. And I'm glad that people are here listening. I don't understand a lot about Web3, to be quite honest. And I've spent a lot of time, and I'm seeing all kinds of influencers around the world jumping in, and I'm talking businesses and churches and celebrities, and who knows. And I think there's something here. And I think that we need to be, as it says in scripture, we need to understand the time and have a heart of wisdom. And so I'm not going to do it perfectly, this whole thing. And I pray for the thought leaders that are here tonight. They have fantastic books and speeches and coaching, and the world needs to hear them. And the world needs to just like the people that jumped on and were rude, they need the light. And I've been in pain before, and these are people in pain. So we lift them up to you and ask that if they're even watching today or watch the replay, that they can be brought closer to you. And we thank you for each person here, and thank you for the people who cared enough to be here. Thanks for Daphne and her courage to ask me the questions. And we're not done. I'm sure we'll have more in the future. So we pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, my friend.
All right.
I appreciate you. By the comments, I can tell others appreciate you.
Awesome.
And,
Perfect.
right on.
Hey, just tag people that need to hear it. People might have missed it and they might need questions. There you go. All right.
Sounds great.
Take care. We'll see ya.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.